Welcome to the Kingdom Vision Podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any content from the podcast. Also, if you want access to BTS or unedited podcast, Patreon is in the description. Enjoy the clip.
2020, I got super sick. Started off as like typical fever and whatnot, and it wouldn't leave. I was just had this terrible cough. I kept pushing, kept going to class, doing my typical routine.
Yeah.
And eventually it got too bad. Had to come home because I couldn't take care of myself. My parents had to bring me home from university, and then got hospitalized for a month. Spent 90 days where I would hit at least like a 101, 102 fever. Just throughout the day, it would break, come back 45 minutes later until they never figured out what it was, but found some medication that kept it down. I would wean off the medication, come back, wean off. Eventually it left, but it was a good at least 90 days of just a fever every single day. At one point it got to 106.9. And obviously that's pretty scary.
6.9 is...
Yeah, at that point, I mean, you could like fry your brain, they say.
It's the highest I've ever heard.
Yeah. Anyways, it wasn't great. It was really bad. I lost a lot of weight, got super sick. And for a while, I was like, man, this came out of nowhere. Like, I have no clue, like, what the heck happened, you know? And they try to say maybe it was like Lyme's disease, I think, where it's like comes from a deer tick or something super random.
Yeah.
And eventually, I get healed, and I'm home, and I'm realizing like how bored I am, how I'm like not doing anything. I was basically bedridden for a while, and then I looked back on all the months leading up to it, and pretty clear, like whenever you actually think about it, okay, I was waking up at like 4:30, 5 in the morning to go to the gym, or sometimes some days I would do this. I would go to the gym for like an hour, and then I would go work my job as a lifeguard, the opening shift for 2 or 3 hours, and then I'd go to class all day. Then I go to rehearsal. Then I would give myself like a dance class, and then I'd go to rehearsal again, and then I'd go back to work to close. Then I'd go back to my apartment, and I would do homework until, you know, however late, and then I would get on then I would get
that's where
FaceTime.
This is where it went bad for you, bro.
Then I fell in love.
Talking old girl.
Bro, so I was talking to my then girlfriend, now wife. And so, you know, she loved me, but we stayed up pretty late.
Yes.
Just
that's
to
how it
wake
is.
up
That's how it
early.
is when you be dating. You fall in love and you be spending way too much time together.
Yeah. Did that, got super sick, learned my lesson, and then I really couldn't go back to working that way, whether I wanted to or not, for a long time. And even now, you know, I try to like cut my sleep hours under 6.5, and immediately starts to get a fever, start to get sick or whatnot.
Even now.
Yeah, even now I can notice that, like, because back then I was going like 4 or 5 hours as often as I could, until eventually like I found myself just falling asleep in class, falling asleep trying to do homework. I'd fall asleep like on an assault bike. I mean, it was.
So what was it? You were just like, you couldn't sleep, or, I mean, it sounds funny to say, but you just wanted to do so much, you just weren't letting yourself.
I just wasn't letting myself. And like I think about that time too. Like I don't know, like before I could think of not doing something, I just was already doing it. So I just had this schedule that I set out, all these things that I just like ambitiously wanted to get done, and I just would put it in the schedule, and I would show up and I would just do it. Okay, I'm already at the gym. It's time to work out. Okay, I have to go to work. Got to do that. Oh, I have to go to class. So give it my all. And there was this. Of course, I've grown up with this, like, you got to work so hard for whatever you want. And then, you know, even as a Christian, as a believer, you've got Colossians 3:23, like, work willingly as though you're working for the Lord rather than for man. So it's good to work hard.
Yeah.
But then eventually I got sick, and so you know something's up when that's happening.
Yeah, when your body's literally shutting down. You remind me of this. There's this guy when I was in College Station, it was probably 2022 in a Bible study. He said the biggest thing he struggles with is his own limitations. Like, people think about all the things you could struggle with as a Christian. Sin, yada, 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 this idea about God, this thought about God. But he's like, no, I have to remember that I'm not God, and I literally am bound by a human body.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like a lot of people would argue that's like the most common sin would be to make yourself God. And that was the fall of man, that we chose to, instead of rely on God, try to become our own God. And so, I mean, of course, that's part of just dying to the flesh.
You think too about, I mean, in a way I wouldn't say it was as extreme as you or as extreme as that, but, you know, we think about how we feel so much as Christians. I mean, a real thing that I think about all the time is my favorite time of the day is mornings because I'm fresh, my mind is sharp, but I only have 3 to 4 hours of like really mental clarity, strong creative work in my mind. And then at 5 p.m., I want to drink another coffee and go again because like my desire, my passion is there, but my body can't keep up with it naturally, and I think something's wrong. I'm like, what's wrong? And so many people don't even understand that you're tired.
Yeah,
you have to rest. And so, go back to your story about so the diagnosis. You think the cause of it was you just literally wanted to do so many different things that you just weren't letting yourself rest.
So I wasn't letting myself rest. I don't feel like I had anything against it, but man, yeah, honestly, it's been so long since I've really looked back on it. Obviously, I've learned my like lesson. I can't get away with that anymore.
So we'll talk about the transition, I guess. So obviously you were overworking yourself, which I think is a problem that not many people have. Usually, majority, I would say, are on the lazier side. I don't know who listens to this podcast.
Yeah,
but hustle culture would teach us, and society would teach us that you were living the life and you were being faithful. Yeah, your body shut down, just rest and keep going. You're living the dream. That's what dreams are made of,
Yeah. Well, what does come to mind is I can remember like when you're go like that, obviously it pretty quickly becomes selfish because you don't have time for other people. You don't have time for anything else.
Oh, buddy.
And I can actually just like be honest. I remember I was going to school for dance, majoring in dance. And so I'm taking these dance classes, and everybody else there is also a college student, right? And if you've been to college, like even if you're taking like an easy major or whatever, which I don't think dance is an easy major. A lot of people would argue it is. But even if you are doing something and you've got it good, you don't even have to work, you're just going to school, it's still exhausting, still tiring. It's like a different way of life for you.
Yeah.
So everybody's tired. We show up to class, and a lot of people like kind of just want to take it easy that day. And me being obsessed with it and like just wanting to get as good as I could was like, no, like we got to go hard. And I would even like press the teacher, like, hey, like please don't let up on us just because everybody else wants to. Like I want to go.
Yeah.
And because of that, people didn't like me very much. And that sound like when we're saying it sounds like, oh, well, that was good, Braden. Like you wanted to work so hard. But then like I basically like they didn't want to be my friend. They didn't want to be a friend. And looking at it as a believer who like I love others, and you want to put others above yourself. It wasn't them like cutting me off, but like I was cutting them off from me.
Wow.
By being such a, like self-centered jerk, and of course,
wow.
Getting back to Colossians 3:23, we justify that stuff as like it's something godly. You got to work hard, and like a good Christian man would do that. But